Welcome into the Illini Inquirer Podcast. It is Jeremy Werner and Joey Wagner. And Joey, we were just chatting before we got on here. It's time. We are done previewing after this podcast today, and we are looking forward to an actual post-game show on the Illini Inquirer Podcast, our first of the 2025 season, and really the 2025-26 academic year. Here we go. Finally, we get to actually see a game soon.
Yeah, I'm excited. We get to hang out with some of our old friends. Hope they all come back to the post-game live pods. I don't know about you, Jeremy. Did a little date night last night to kind of get that done, or not get that done, but you're not going to have the opportunity to do a lot more of those here coming up. So we went to the Yard in Urbana.
You went to the Yard?
Dude, I'm telling you, I would love some sort of sponsor. I would sit here for 2 minutes and read. I don't even need to give me any ad copy. Just let me talk. And then we played some Golden Tea.
You took me on a date to the Yard. I had a wonderful time, Joey.
It's great. It's awesome. We didn't get to play Golden Tea. We did that last night, and then I decided that'd be a good wedding registry. Like, hey, if you don't want to buy us a whole machine, can we collect a pool of money to get an arcade-style Golden Tea machine? You know me, man. That's my jam.
Oh, no, I was about to say, you go on the road. If I find a Golden Tea bar, like a bar with a Golden Tea, that's all Joey needs. Doesn't matter what else is there. That's a night for Joey Wagner. Usually midweek, you and I will break down our keys to the game. We'll give our picks to click, all of that fun. No offense to Western Illinois, but they know why they're coming to Champaign. They're coming to Champaign for a big paycheck, and Brett Bielema's got to say the right things about, we got to prepare for our opponent. This is a run-through game. This is a preseason game, basically, for Illinois. And that's what it's meant to be, is a warm-up game before the real things actually come. Now, you got to take care of business, Joey, but I don't feel like we need to break down the keys to a game, picks to click, against a team Illinois is currently favored by 45, 46 points.
We probably don't need to break down keys to the game. Here's if Illinois is who Illinois wants to be, who it thinks it is, who nationally it's seen as, this should be one of those games that you don't even look twice when it comes across the ticker. Like you see number 12 Illinois 40 some, and then that's all you need to look at, right? I do think it'd be fun to do a picks to click on offense and defense before we get into the real meat of our discussion here.
Do you just want to go for it? I would pick Khalil Valentine. I think Khalil Valentine's going to get a lot of touches in this game.
I would pick Caden Fagan. I truly believe that Brett Bielema knows what these last 2 years have been like for Caden Fagan. And I'm not saying a 100-plus yard rushing game against Western Illinois is going to be the end-all, be-all for a Heisman campaign, right? But I do think Brett Bielema knows the value of letting that guy at this point, feel the success of a big game and carry that into Duke next week. So we'll take two different running backs. I think they're both probably going to flirt with or be over 100 yards. Aiden Lawfrey is going to be the low man on this, I think, yardage-wise.
Yeah, get him 5 to 10 touches and save him for Duke, right? We know what Aiden Lawfrey can do, but getting Caden Fagan's legs back under him and getting Khalil Valentine a lot of confidence, I think would be good. But I do think Illinois could probably win this game without throwing the ball very much. But you do want to throw the ball, Joey, because you want to test your wide receivers. You want to see who is going to step up, and we'll talk about that here in a moment, I'm sure. And then defensively, you just want to dominate. I mean, this is a team that has a couple of players that are interesting that could be on an Illinois roster on the 3 deep, but the talent level is just completely different. I mean, if Illinois is not winning this game by at least 30 plus points, and yes, we have huge questions, but I don't have any worries that that's going to happen.
No, I don't either. And because of that, I will take Matthew Bailey defensively. Western Illinois likes to throw it around. I feel like it's going to be a challenge to block Gabe Ackes, to block James Thompson, to pick your other combination of your other outside linebacker. And I feel like Matthew Bailey is going to have a takeaway, at least one.
Yeah, this probably won't count to our season score, so I'm just going to go with my guy. It's Angelo McCollum. Angelo McCollum time.
Yeah.
I'm going with a guy in the 2 deep, right, on either side of the ball that thinks he can get some extended run, and I think Angelo McCollum could be that kind of guy. Anything else? JC Davis is healthy. He is good to go. Brett Bielema just told you guys down in Champaign. He did mention some guys maybe borderline 2 deep, could be nursing some soft tissue, so we'll see towards game time. But it wasn't the greatest training camp health-wise for the offensive line, but it doesn't seem like anything too serious. We'll see about Aiden Knappich, but at this point, I feel like a guy I'll bring up later, Desmond Schuster, is going to be maybe the bigger impact guy even this year than Aiden Knappich. So it doesn't sound like anything too serious outside of the freshmen. John Forster, Tywan Cox, JJ Hurtis happened during training camp.
Yeah, I never got the sense that JC Davis was that concerning when it happened or even after. I think when it got to be past that initial 2-week window, you started to think, like, okay, what's going on here? But you had to keep in the back of your mind that JC Davis played a lot of football. Like he's not a guy you want him out there, but you'd also rather him be healthy and understand he can pick up those reps. Melvin Priestley had a brief window out, but it sounds like they're starting to round. Now, Melvin Priestley, JC Davis are fine. The offensive line, there were a lot of guys in and out, right? That was kind of the story of training camp, but it sounds like that's all leveled out. And ideally for Illinois, Western Illinois, to get a chance to get some of those guys, TJ McMillans, Des Schuster, Brandon Hansen, Saphir. I don't know if Saphir Stewart's going to be in that conversation, but to get some of those lesser experienced offensive linemen a chance to get out there.
Yeah, I did a poor job of leading into this podcast, not saying what it is. It's our bold predictions podcast, Joey.
I thought you were like leaving it to unveil a secret halfway through.
I started talking about the game. You got me focused on Golden Tee, and I, as a poor host, I forgot about it. It is our bold predictions podcast. Welcome in, everybody, and we like to have fun with these. Now that Joey hit on a big one last year, I think he's trying to hit another one, like really hit on one. But we like to have fun with these to talk about something that we think could happen. I do like to get a little bold and beyond our skis a little bit. So I'm not saying it will happen, but now that Joey hit on Pat Bryant setting the record for receiving touchdowns, I think your heart is in. You got to hit on one again.
Yeah, I do. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to try to figure out how I was going to do that. And I'm looking through the 1, 2, 3, 7 I have written down. I don't know that any are that bold. Like they're bold in the sense of, I don't know that we've talked a lot about some of these things happening, but I had a real bold one cooking up for the better part of the spring and summer, and I put that one to bed.
Okay. We'll bring that up. But before we get into our bold predictions, I do want to recap training camp just a little bit. So a few minutes of this, because we didn't get to see a lot. I mean, we had one fully open practice, a lot of other just individual periods, a few contact periods, but didn't get to see a ton, but we got to hear a ton from the staff and the players, Joey. So first, let's start with a positive. What do you feel better about after training camp with this Illinois football team?
I stay on offense, the tight ends. I think early on, the talk was obviously Tanner Arkin, a guy who I hope we've done enough to really paint a picture of what his value to Illinois is over the course of training camp. And Cole Russ, like those are the two names we went into camp, like really, really front of mind. Over time, Davin Stoppel, Christian Abney have emerged. Jordan Anderson's this kind of do it all, a little bit of here, a little bit of there guy. Brett Bielema said they have 5 tight ends. Those would be the 5. So I just knowing the trust they have in Abney, the trust they have in Stoppel, their willingness to get a little creative, we think, with Jordan Anderson, kind of takes a little bit off of needing Cole Rusk to be the guy not coming off a knee injury, not making the jump to the big. Like those are big hurdles to clear. And I just having some of those guys behind him seemingly impress in camp gives me a little more confidence in that group and their willingness and desire to run 12 personnel.
I think mine's going to steal a little bit from yours just on a mass scale. It is the depth, Joey, of this team. And I think we knew this was a deeper team, but when we're talking about, like, they're talking about 4 or 5 deep at tight end. Wide receiver, I think they can go 7 deep and feel like they have guys who at least can be serviceable to impact players in the Big Ten. You have a backup quarterback that I think they feel pretty decent about. Offensive line, I still got a few questions, but defensive line, even if I have questions about what the top end of it all looks like, I do feel like they have 6 or 7 guys that they can rotate, when last year I didn't know if they could go beyond 2 or 3 at some points of the season. Outside linebacker, how they get all those guys snaps is going to be fascinating. Linebacker, defensive back, they have multiple starters like beyond their starting group, I think, at those positions, at least solid starters, right? But also, Joey, it allows the staff to get creative. We saw it late in the season with the sub packages with defense that we've brought up, but also offensively when you have different types of running backs, different types of wide receivers, and 4 or 5 tight ends you can go with. Think of all the different personnel packages you can put out there. You can have a backfield that sometimes if Caden Fagan and Jordan Henderson, if you wanted to, or Aiden Lawfrey as the one back and having 4 wide receivers out there or 3 tight ends. Like there's just so many different things they can do with this that they're veterans. And there's just a lot of different flavors that I think the staff can get creative with that I think is going to be really interesting to watch as the season goes along.
I would just like to get ahead of if they do a 3 tight end set. Can we call it like the tugboat since it's not the barge? Can we do that?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Put
that in ink here. Yeah, 13 personnel doesn't have the flair that we need it to have. Tugboat, it is.
Dude.
Yeah.
All right. What do you feel more concerned about after training camp?
Some of that has changed in the last week or so, just with the way that they're talking about Hudson Clement and him really kind of getting back into form and what they saw when they recruited him out of the transfer portal out of West Virginia. We know about Colin Dixon. We know about Hank Beatty. I think those two are going to play a ton of reps. We said it on the preview pod for wide receivers that we may have been undershooting Hank Beatty's into season production. We didn't even get out of August, and I think we probably undershot that. But the whole talk going in, so Clement makes me feel better the way they're talking about him, but the whole talk going into camp was really centered around that X position, that filling Pat Bryant's role. And who was it going to be? Luke Altmaier on this podcast talked about going and finding an alpha, someone to step into that role. And that's just kind of was the theme going in. And I don't know that as the game is now 2 days away, that's really been found. I would have liked a receiver to step up and say, that's me. Yeah. I am going to have this X job. No doubt. I'm going to rise to this occasion and be the alpha. And I don't think that hasn't happened, and it hasn't, right? Like they've not talked about a receiver doing that. I don't think it's because no one is capable. I do think to really rise over your Malik Elsies, your Justin Boaks, your Alexander Kapka-Jones to really stand out, it's got to be pretty darn good, like really, really good, because they're all talented, and I think the margin between those 3 in particular is pretty thin. I just would have felt better coming out of that, knowing they have an absolute, no doubt, X who can be not Pat Bryant. No one is asking a receiver to be Pat Bryant, but to be that guy. And maybe that ultimately ends up being Clement, but I would have felt better having heard that.
Yeah. And if they do run more 12 personnel, maybe you just see Dixon and Clement on the field together. Yeah. Clement played the X at West Virginia. And, those positions can be pretty interchangeable. And we know Dixon's a really good blocker. So I do think those 3 have emerged, but I think any of us that want Malik Elsie to be that guy now, I just don't think that's clear yet. Missing 1 week with a hamstring injury did not help him. But Alexander Kapka-Jones continues to be brought up by this staff. Took a lot of first team reps. Justin Bullock, we know, brought competition. And we're starting to hear Ashton Hollins be named is an option at that position. So it's clear he did not just claim that job. So I can't sit here and just pound the Malik Elsie drum, even if I love the idea of him. I think we still probably need to see the consistency for him to earn that kind of praise of like, this is the guy. But to be clear, they have said he looks like he could take a step forward, but they're not like pounding the drum that he is definitely going to, Joey. So I think that competition continues. And I just think you're going to see a lot of rotation outside of the top 3 guys we mentioned. Dixon, Beatty, Clement seem to have established themselves. The other guys still feel like they're really competing for reps.
Yeah, and I think that, as you said, that's going to continue. Now, how long into the season does that really continue? Because I do think at the end of the day, you need to get that a little bit more established as this thing goes on, and games will help inform how that gets established. But I think if you're watching Illinois, you'd like them to get to that Indiana game having maybe a bit more of a clear idea of who that is No doubt. But look, I also don't want to sound like this is some sort of death blow to the receiver group. It's not. I just think I would have really preferred to go in knowing absolutely that so-and-so had this open job and they took it and there was really no conversation, but towards the end of camp that got established and just hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah. I kind of would do the same thing a little bit on defense because you really need some of those transfer guys to hit, Joey. And I think Tommy Wadurajaye starts, but like the fact that that's still a question, like, and Pat Farrell could be in that conversation. I don't know. Maybe they're keeping quiet on somebody else that could be in that conversation. But like Carter Hewitt, we had heard they were really excited about. Feels like he's still trying to get into that too deep, whether it's nose tackle, 4-eye. He's playing multiple positions. That means, do you have one? Which could mean other guys like Angel McCollum and Jeremiah Warren have emerged, or Pat Farrell. But also like Leon Lowry. Haven't heard a ton about him. We've heard he's in the mix at outside linebacker. And maybe that's a good thing about Joe Barna or Daniel Brown or Alec Bryant. But like, I still have some questions about that defensive front, and I thought they had to answer some of those via the transfer portal. And I still have some questions about the impact of what those guys will be. They're going to play. They're going to be part of the rotation, Joey, but they need them to be good. Like, if it's not Lowry, they need Joe Barna to be really good, or they need Alec Bryant to take a step forward. If it's not Tommy Wadurajaye, Pat Farrell has to take an immense step forward.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of questions about James Thompson and Kurt Neal.
No.
In particular, I have zero questions about James Thompson and what his impact is going to be. But
Kurt Neal for me is more about like, is he a really good starter or is he serviceable to solid? Because he was serviceable at Wisconsin last year. I would expect him to be better at Illinois with another year and with Terrence Jameson. But like, I know he can at least be a serviceable nose tackle and expect him to get better. But is he a good one? We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely right. I'm with you. I don't know that we've heard a ton about Leon Lowry. Alec Bryant, we have pegged as the starter for a little bit here. I think Joe Barna, we probably haven't talked enough. Where is it? Oh, no. Oh, I got it. We probably haven't talked enough about Joe. This thing is really, it's got all bent. I should have framed it. But maybe that's the guy.
You frame a sign guy.
When my bold prediction on Joe Barna hits later in this podcast. If that hits, we frame it.
Okay. All right.
We do probably need some sort of framing sponsor around here. So maybe it's more about him. Maybe it's more about Daniel Brown, a name, Jeremy, that really kind of comes up a lot. Like, if you think about it, his name, as much as we don't ask, like, there's obviously you ask about players and you asked about Daniel Brown, but I just feel like his name comes up more than we ask. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that is a sign to me. I think you know what Alec Bryant is. And then Pat Farrell's a name that comes up more than we ask. And that is, okay, is this more about Pat Farrell? May well be. Or is this more about Tommy Wadurajaye? It may well be. There's going to be a rotation, but you do need some establishment there, right? You need someone to be the no doubt starter, and you're not rotating because your starter's not giving enough. You're rotating because you want to keep fresh.
Yeah. I would qualify this. I kind of want to set up this way. Like, there are guys we come into training camp really interested about that us in the media, us reporters ask consistently about. Malik Elsey, Cole Rusk, got, newcomers, the transfers, all of that. A Carson Boyd, a freshman that's really interesting, or a Grant Bierman, right? Like those guys that get some of those hype. But then there are those guys that when you do this job long enough, you have to realize like they're bringing up these guys for a reason. And we didn't ask about them, but they're talking about them. You brought up Daniel Brown. Let's go into the most interesting players conversation. I think that's the conversation we can have is guys we started to hear more and more about that necessarily we weren't asking. I think Alexander Kapka-Jones belongs in that. And then we get to see practice, and he's practicing a little bit with the first string. That's going to raise eyebrows, just like seeing Matthew Bailey practicing as a true freshman with the first string, right? Like alarm bells go off when that stuff happens. Mario Sanders, a JUCO kid that I don't know where he fits in that rotation, but I think long-term, he's got 2 more years after this year if he wants it. That could be a guy who fills in for Hank Beatty next year. Who would be one of the main guys for you on defense if you had to?
I do want to add two, like just the transfer tight ends, Stoffel and Abney offensively. Those two have come up, and what we've seen in practice, they've come up for a reason, very similar to Kapka Jones. You know, we've talked a lot. Daniel Brown defensively, obviously, and more recently.
He's really interesting to me, Joey, because he's so different. Like, I don't know. We have not seen Alec Bryant be a consistent disruptor. I think he's a really solid run defender, really good edge setter. Had a couple great sacks against Nebraska, a few of them. I think one of them was really late in overtime. But there weren't a lot of other flashes out of Alec Bryant. So that's my question, is who's going to be that guy? And it's why I thought Leon Lowry, I think he's got the potential to be that guy. Joe Barn is an interesting name, but Daniel Brown, the one thing he is great at is rushing the passer. And it might just be a sub package on third down, because can you play a 6'1" edge guy on first and second down, when it's a running down? I don't know. But on third downs, I think he could be like Kenenna Odeluga, like a sub package all-star, because we saw glimpses of it late in the year.
Yeah, other guys you've heard about, Zanai Scott, Brett Bielema said is one of the freshmen, really the only freshman not on a redshirt plan. I did clarify with him, that is more special teams. There's just way too much in front of him on the defensive side of the ball.
And that speaks again. We get excited about freshmen here at Illinois because they're hope. That's a great sign for this program, that a pretty good recruiting class they have come in with Braden Trimble and Grant Bierman and some of these good players. They don't need them in the 2D. They don't. Like, that depth is huge. And when you don't need one of those guys to step into a big role, that's a good sign for the program.
Absolutely it is. Other names, and when we say these names, we're not saying like, hey, sleeper starter. That's not what we're saying. We're saying just be familiar, because we've heard these names a lot. Demetrius John, I feel like, is a name that has just kind of bubbled around in that defensive line room. Like Tanner Heckel, that's probably more spring than it was fall camp. I do think he's the backup star, and I think he could get some defensive reps. Is there an inside linebacker? Is it one of Kenenna Odeluga, Malachi Hood? Is it one of those two?
Yeah, I think those guys we kind of knew were going to make an impact. I would say Odeluga emerged just because he's going to probably be a starter, weak side linebacker. I thought Hood, do they put in that role just to get him on the field a little bit more? But I think they're just going to keep him in the role that he was awesome at the end of last year and just play him a full season in that, which could be 200, 300 snaps in that role. JoJo Hayden would be one.
Yeah. I have another one, and we've overlooked him because of Angela McCollum, because of Kurt Neal. General Hunt just could be a guy just to maybe he's that third string nose tackle, but third string nose tackle still means snaps when you're playing Big Ten football. Secondary, let's just break it down real quickly. I can't think. Like, we've talked a lot about Mac Rusetich, and they've answered questions about Mac Rusetich, but that wasn't the bring up out of nowhere where, I mean, he has been in the past, but this
there's
not a lot out of nowhere with him now.
Not a lot of room to be brought up out of nowhere in that secondary. With all the experience they have returning. I mean, Heckel is the guy that feels like ready for the breakthrough. I could see Amar Reynolds after injuries potentially playing a role, but you also had Tyler Strains, like your fourth corner and your third nickel on this team, and he's a fifth-year senior. So the other guy, the most intriguing guy of camp for me is Desmond Schuster. Just came out of nowhere. Like, you thought he could maybe be a backup right guard, coming into camp, and that's fine. He's a former JUCO guy. He's huge, and I just need to see him healthy after all the things he's dealt with the last 2 years. But the fact that he was playing tackle when J.C. Davis is out and sounding and looking like he was pretty good at it in what we saw, Joey, because Aiden Knappich being out with an injury for most of training camp, and Tyler McMillan looking like he's not ready for an immediate impact, and Nathan Knappich clearly needing more strength gains before he's ready for an impact. That backup tackle spot was really starting to concern me. But now it feels like you might have a serviceable guy and someone I thought that was a guard to start this season. That's why I think this game against Western Illinois is great for a Desmond Schuster. Can J.C. Davis play a quarter and then put Desmond Schuster in, or a half and put Desmond Schuster in to get a significant amount of snaps just to play a game, see what you got against some Division I competition. But if he can be your swing tackle this year, and he played both the right and left during training camp, and Bart Miller sounds pretty encouraged by him, that's a massive addition that would open up one of my biggest concerns. We talked about biggest concerns was the two deep on your offensive line did not look like he was improving as much as you wanted because Aiden Knappich was hurt. Tyler McMillan doesn't look like he's as ready for impact. And then you had Brandon Hanson and TJ McMillan out for a little bit with a concussion. That was a little scary. I mean, the second string offensive line has been injured a lot the last year here. So Desmond Schuster would be a big piece if he can be a serviceable swing tackle.
Agreed on all fronts. It's not often that like kind of those out of nowhere guys show up in camp. Like there's always I didn't know already. You know, like Colin Dixon last year was like, I wasn't sure that already you would be in this spot. Matthew Bailey in 2022. Like we didn't know at that point they would be there. But like there's guys that I want to say you've written off but have been in the system a little bit, like Des Schuster had, where all of a sudden now we're talking about a 6th or 7th spot on a 5-person offensive line. So those are kind of fun, right? Like maybe you've got one that comes front of mind and kind of those out of nowhere guys.
Kirby Joseph, the top one. Yeah. Right? But Alexander Captain-Jones is in that kind of realm. A guy that, you hoped could add some depth immediately, needed a year, got on the field last year, and now he's maybe going to be a starter fighting for a starting spot. Like that's kind of out of nowhere. He's not a nowhere name for most fans, I would imagine.
Yeah, but even Kirby Joseph, though, his out of nowhere moment was at Virginia. Right. Like you had heard him bubbling around, but he didn't. Maybe he did start. I think we've had this conversation between you and I. Maybe he did start that first game, so there was a little bit there. But then Virginia felt like the moment with him. But yeah, it's cool to see those happen and guys that you think like to be honest, we didn't have a big reason to ask about Des Schuster or Bart Miller or Brett Bielema because they brought in transfers and like other guys had developed. You're returning so much, and then all of a sudden you see him out there and his name is brought up, and that was a cool part of camp.
Yeah. The last thing I would say is that they're saying the right things when it comes to expectations. Like they are embracing it. I love what Luke always says to it. We want it.
We asked for it.
We asked for it. Right. That's what you want. You want that pressure to perform. And I think they have the right messenger from their head coach. Right. And they've had guys who have dealt with expectations before and seen what can go wrong with that, seen what can go well with that. So that experience certainly pays off. And everyone you hear around the program, whether it's Jerry DiNardo or, Yogi Roth was on our podcast, they're saying like they feel ready for it. Like they feel loose. So I guess we'll find out when they go to Duke. I guess we'll find out when they go to Indiana. But at least it seems like they're handling that and saying the right things.
Yeah, I think when you look at the prominent voices in that locker room, do you think Josh Kreutz really cares about truly cares about the ranking?
I don't think Josh Kreutz has ever read a word we have ever written.
No, and he just seems like when he's your voice and he doesn't really that's not a cliche. I truly do not believe this guy even remotely cares.
No.
Like at all. And then when you have your quarterback who's fine in that moment, like some quarterbacks of Illinois past, you don't know. Like I don't know how it would have looked with all of this. And obviously Luke is a big reason all of this is happening for Illinois, but he just seems like, screw it, let's go. Like that vibe from your quarterback, and then as you go down to your transfers to have that, or your captains rather, to have that feeling, I think that really speaks a lot of volumes to why the attitude and the approach is what it is right now, at least by our view.
Yeah. I'm ready for them to play games though, Joey, to see what's really true.
That is like when you're covering a good program, which is relatively new to you and I for the football side.
Did you notice the number 12 team in the country?
It's come across my desk. Yeah. Yes, it just passed my Joe Barnes sign when it came through my mailbox on my desk. Like there's a need for thoughts and for content and for ideas from the time that we got back from the Citrus Bowl, and then it's recruiting, and then it's spring ball, and that schedule is all there, but like now it's full because recruits are happening. Like people are committing, people care to read spring ball content. You just go all the way through, and then you mix basketball on top of that, which is obviously a whole nother thing. We have been talking about this team literally since like February when it was obvious everybody was coming back. This has felt like forever to get to an actual game.
Time to go. The rivalries, the marching bands, the upsets. Saturdays just got way more fun. College football is back. Think you know the game? Put your knowledge to the test with DraftKings Sportsbook and turn your picks into big payouts. With live betting, rivalry week odds boosts, and more, DraftKings Sportsbook has everything you need to own every Saturday. If you want to make a wager before Illinois kicks off on Friday, you got 3 Big Ten games on Thursday. Minnesota 17.5-point favorite over Buffalo, Wisconsin 17.5-point favorite over Miami, Ohio, and Nebraska playing Cincinnati and Kansas City. The Cornhuskers 6.5-point favorites in that one, and the big game on Saturday. Ohio State, 2.5-point favorite over Texas. Lines and odds subject to change. And here's something special for you first-timers. New DraftKings customers, you bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. So right now, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Illini. That's code Illini for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-78-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. All right, so it's time to make our bold predictions as well. It is bold predictions time. And Joey, since you hit the one last year, I didn't even go back to see if I hit any. Probably not. But you hit the big. No, probably not. Pat Bryant getting the 10 receiving touchdowns to tie the record. You hit that one. So I'll let you lead off. What is your bold prediction? What's the one you feel best about going into the year?
Wait, do you want to do the ones we kind of left on the floor?
Yeah.
First, or do you want to close with that?
We can do that.
Because I do want to stay on the receiver front. In March, when we were watching spring ball and we were hearing the way they were talking about Braden Trimble, I had jotted down Braden Trimble has a Ricky Smalling-like freshman year, which is about 500 receiving yards. I have, not for any reason on Braden Trimble, I just think the rest of the receiver room has really taken shape. I have backed off of that one, but I tried to manifest that even through like June. I was like, this has got to be the thing. I do think he will play in 4 games. Brett Bielema didn't mention him as a no doubt, like not a redshirt guy. I think he could play his way into that. If injuries happen or if he just performs out there, I would expect to see him on Friday. But that is one I really wanted to take, and I had crafted that for a little bit. But I just think the way Clements come along, Dixon, Beatty, Bowick, Elzy, Kapka Jones, it's just a lot in front of him right now. And I do think he's going to have a really good career, but I slowed down on that one.
I wanted to do one for David Alano. I don't think we talk about him enough. I wanted to say he ties the record for most field goals made in a season for Illinois, but then I thought, I don't know if Illinois is going to kick as many field goals, right? Like you feel like they can punch it in a little bit better. Feel like they have more tight ends. They got Luke Altmaier. They'll find a way to convert those into touchdowns. So I thought about playing with that. I think it's going to be a big year for David Alano. So maybe my bold prediction should be, and I guess I'll make it, all Big Ten first team kicker for David Alano. I just think he is set up for a phenomenal season.
I think looked at what kicker. Who's back. That I haven't looked at which first teamers, second teamers are back.
I feel that good about David Alano.
It doesn't
matter.
It doesn't matter what's happening around him. Yeah, we really probably don't talk about him enough, and I think because Ethan Machowski was such an outlier for leg strength last season, that I think he's going to be good at Washington. That kid's a good kicker. Kind of forgot a little bit that David Alano still has a lot of leg strength, even though Machowski had just a little bit more. Like 50-yard field goals, I think Alano can hit. Like we know he can hit those. We know he's got the range to move back a little bit, which is a good thing for Brett Bielema, for Robbie Disher to have in their pockets when you're kind of in that awkward territory. To roll out David Alano. I like that. First team, all Big Ten is so is this gonna be the end of David Alano in Champaign? Is this I don't need a red shirt
early out of here? David Alano? I don't know about that, but I think he's just a 4 and done. I think he's a 4 and done kicker. I don't think he's 3 and done though.
I'm gonna stay on special teams just because
I love Robbie Disher would be so proud of us starting with special teams here.
Let's just pair them together here. I think Keelan Crimmins is going to set the program punt average record. It's 45.4 yards. He was at 44.9 last year. That is not even that big of a leap. You're just passing two really freaking good punters in Illinois history.
Steve Weatherford is number 1 and Blake Hayes is number 2, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's like, I look at that when I see this, it's 0.6 yards difference.
It's
0.6 yards.
Would you give the Aussie punter crown from Blake Hayes to Keelan Crimmins if it was just 1 year?
Oh gosh, that feels weird to do because Blake Hayes was like legitimately a top 5 player on this team for like 4 years.
The MVP of this team for his
I don't know that I would do that because I think Blake Hayes and his longevity, like the body of work he had for as long as he had it. But I will give Crimmins a 0.6. He'd need 0.7, 0.6 to break it. I think that'll happen.
Can I share my nerdy thing I did the other day at practice?
You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do it again. It's so sad.
It was week 3 of camp, people. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what else I can write about this team after watching so many special teams and positional drills. Got out my phone, started stop watching the punters.
Oh, boy.
Hang time for Keelan Crimmins really good. I had 5.3 seconds twice, Joey. Pretty good. Because Hugh was at like 3.7 last year, something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't very. I mean, it was not very good. It didn't end up being very good. Keelan Crimmins, like we don't talk enough just about specialist. New sentence, right? Like period. We don't talk. Keelan Crimmins was a really, really good transfer addition.
Yeah,
him and David Alano give Illinois a specialist advantage in a lot of games. Those two are awesome at their jobs.
We're gonna make it a special teams trifecta, Joey. It's happening. Hank Beatty will do it. First return for a touchdown since D'Angelo Bentley in 2013. I think we've been calling this every year, whether it's Williams, whether it was last year going into the year, thinking like Mac Rosetich or Kenari Wilcher, I think was the guy we were talking about that could do it. Illinois doesn't kick return enough, I don't think, to have the potential to do that. I think Khalil Valentine will be the one returning kicks. But Hank Beatty came so close a couple times last year. I think he'll do it. 2013 since the special teams touchdown. What's Iowa had? 13 themselves since then? Like Hank Beatty, I didn't go this far, but I think Hank Beatty is going to have a chance to be on an NFL team at this time next year because of the special teams. I think he's in for a really good year as a receiver as well. So I think he'll do it. I don't think we have any other special teams bowl predictions unless you got something on Lane Hansen. Just a long
snapper. I do not. Sorry to Lane Hansen. I also had Hank Beatty takes one. And if I felt comfortable that he would have enough, I don't think he's going to be the team's kick returner. He also wasn't the team's punt returner to start last season. I would just take both of them and sweep it.
There you go.
I would just redo the D'Angelo Bentley year because he also returned a kick in 13, as I remember.
Yes, both.
I would honestly, part of me wants to say screw it and take the clean sweep of it and just assume they're going to find a way to put Hank Beatty on kickoff.
You're going to one-up me here?
You know what? Do it. I'll do it. I don't care. I think that's got a very low hit rate because I don't think he's, one, Illinois returns enough, and two, that he's actually going to do it. The punt return, I feel very good about. That was a great call. Just put both of them on there.
You don't give an F about nothing. All right.
That's right.
Give me something on offense, Joey. Let's get the people going on something outside of special teams.
Not necessary. We'll stay on special teams. Caden Fagan matches Josh McCray's 10 rushing touchdowns from last year. I don't really feel all that bold with that. Like the whole concern, like, oh, McCray's gone. Who's the goal line back? That guy. He's massive. He's got speed. He needs to, obviously there are running back instincts that need to take shape over the course of more reps, more in-game reps. He's an enormous human being. I think you are fine to give that guy the ball in goal-to-go situations and assume he's going to get it in the end zone. McCray had an awesome year at doing that. Why would Caden Fagan not? If the opportunity's there for him, give him the ball and let him run it in.
I like it. You like that touchdown number too. And that's not that hard to do, right? Like if you're a really good running back or a good team, 10 touchdowns is definitely in the realm. But again, for him, it's basically staying on the field. But I'll stick with the running backs, Joey. I thought of so many different ways of trying to say this. Like I thought about going all in on Aiden Laughley, 1,000 yards rushing this year because we've seen him stay healthy for an entire year. I get the interest and hype around Fagan. I'm a little bit more concerned with Fagan health-wise just because the injuries he's had. I thought about saying this is the most efficient rushing attack under Brett Bielema. I don't think they'll get the most yards because 21, that's all they did was run the ball, and they had like 2,600, 2,700 rushing yards or something like that. But I am really high on these two running backs if they stay healthy. I think they're clearly two of the 2 or 3 best playmakers on this offense, right, that have proven themselves. We'll see if Clement or somebody else or Dixon can put themselves in that realm. They're going to get the ball a lot. I think both these guys should get 150 to 200 touches if they're healthy. And I'm just going to assume that. And I'm going to say both these guys top 900 yards from scrimmage for the entire year. I just think they're going to get that many touches and they're going to be that effective. And I think Caden is a pass catcher should not be overlooked. Like, it would not shock me if he had 25 catches for 200 something yards. Aiden Lawfrey, I think, is going to be a guy who could play all downs for Illinois. Fagan's going to play a lot of third downs because I think he's the best blocker. And I just think you're going to ride this duo. I don't want to say quite to what Penn State did with Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, but I think there's enough talent for those guys to put together that kind of duo type of season for Illinois. So the running game should be better with the offensive line and tight ends. And when you got questions at wide receiver, Joey, you got 2 good running backs, feature them a little bit more, get them involved in the passing game, find creative ways to get them the ball. So I'm going to go both those guys top 900 yards from scrimmage this year.
And I would assume you have Lawfrey with more rushing yards, Fagan with more receiving yards.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's bold. It's like I said,
that is bold. That is a
healthy.
Yeah, the help. That's, you think back to like how we talked about Matt Bailey in 2023, right? Like, as long as he can stay on the field, I'm looking forward to not having to like always put that caveat with Caden Fagan, and to a much lesser degree, Aiden Lawfrey. Like, Aiden Lawfrey's injury history is there and he's missed games. It is not probably as significant as a lot of people think it is. It's not been a lot of catastrophics. I don't think any. It's been mostly soft tissue.
Mostly hamstrings too, right?
Yeah. And it really, truly hasn't cost him all that much. Like, it's cost him games, but I think that probably gets a little overblown for what it's truly been for him during his college career. But the time we don't have to talk about that anymore is going to be nice, because it's not exhausting. I'm not going to act like we're actually tired, but like, it stinks to have to always put that caveat.
And it's why the last couple of weeks, whether it's us talking about it since our primer with running backs, because it is a big question with these two, or if I have Jay or somebody else on, I'm like, what if these running backs do stay healthy? I think they're capable of this. So that's why it's my bold prediction. They stay healthy and they produce that much, because for a winning team, that's not ridiculous. And for a team with this offensive line, this quarterback, a group of tight ends like they have, I think it's very, very possible. All right, what do you got?
I'm gonna stay running here. I'm still workshopping a passing one, and I don't know how much I want to go on that. I think this is the top 5 rushing attack in the Big Ten. I can bump it up to top 4 if we really need to get a little bit more bold with it. They were at
top 15, top 20, even Power 4 schools, because some of these lower level schools can kind of go off with running. But I'm trying to say, like, that's a top 25 rushing attack in the country.
Yeah, so last year they were at 153.7 in terms of yards per game. To get in, I looked at the last 3 years in the Big Ten, and that would put them somewhere between 170 to 180 in 2022 was that 4th, 5th place spot. That's kind of a high mark. I don't know that I would feel as comfortable with that. But to get into 170 with this running back group, assuming health, with this offensive line, adding 17 more yards per game. I mean, it's a number, right? It's a big number, but it doesn't feel outlandish to me.
Can I give you another reason? This schedule. Like the teams you play, like USC's defense improved last year. They're not Penn State, what Penn State was last year, right? And, Indiana's a pretty good team that had a decent defense last year. They are in Oregon. So, like, I think even swapping out some of those high-end teams that you just really struggle to run the ball against, and then you just think you should hit the ground running to where you're not running for 79 yards against Duke this year compared to Kansas last year.
Yeah, and I'll also say, like, the offensive line last year, we've talked about how slow the offensive line started. There were games the running backs weren't all that great early on either. Like, it wasn't all on the offensive line. You would have liked to have seen more out of Josh McCray, out of Caden Fagan early Aiden Lawfrey had some injuries early last season that cost him a little bit. I don't feel like 17 more yards a game is some unreasonable amount with the offensive line being as they hope it can be. It doesn't feel all that bold, but I'll go with it.
With the start of football season, that means it's travel time for us here at Illini Inquirer. And you ever hate where you got to put that toiletry bag together and you're like, do I really need 3 mini bottles and a backup deodorant? Well, that's why I started packing smarter with Mando. Mando has a 4-in-1 acidified cleansing bar that has shampoo, face wash, body wash, and deodorant all in one bar. And it also works as a shaving lather. So really, it's 5-in-1. It simplifies your whole hygiene routine, saves space in your bag for fun stuff like snacks, extra shoes, all that stuff. Also, Mando's sweat control deodorant stick is fantastic. It stops odor before it starts, and it's more than just for underarms, guys. It has all-day odor blocking, not just masking with fragrance. It also fights sweat, so it gives you double protection. It's so simple. 1 or 2 swipes under each arm keeps you fresh and dry all day, and it's safe for all skin types. It's doctor-developed, it's high quality, and it has premium ingredients. This isn't your average deodorant or antiperspirant. It combats sweat, stops odor, and respects skin. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code Illini at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. That's code Illini at shopmando for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered. Protect your pits. Smell great doing it. Is this bold enough for Luke Altmaier? He throws for the fewest yards per game of his Illinois career this year, but he has the highest single season passing efficiency in Illinois history of somebody who started more than 3 games. Sorry, John Paddock, you do not belong. What a heater. I hate that he's at the top of the record book because he started 3 games that year. For guys who have started an entire season, I think he'll set that record. He's number 2 right now after last season. I think he's going to be incredibly efficient. I think he's going to be better than last year. I just think the running game is going to be better. I think they're going to be ahead a little bit more in some of these games, Joey, where he doesn't have to chuck it around. And you saw last year, it was more like 150 to 200 late in the season when they're running the ball and defending pretty well. And then we got questions of, can these guys at wide receiver make the plays that Pat Bryant did? Like that after the catch stuff that Pat did last year, the down the field, I still got questions. Do you have guys that can make those plays that add up all those yards? So I don't know how bold it is, but I feel like with the way we talk about Luke, I think he's going to be great this year. I just think the number of passing yards per game, some of those numbers might take a little dip.
Yeah, I can see that. There's a real bold one sitting there for Altmaier that I don't know if I want. I don't really think I believe it, but I also kind of like chasing the Pat Bryant touchdown record dragon a little bit.
Touchdown number. That's what you're going to go passing touchdowns, aren't you?
I took the under in our over-unders on it because I really don't think I fully in my heart believe it. But that's what's fun about bold predictions, right? We don't really have to act like we think this is actually going to happen. So
go for it.
Screw it. It literally does not matter. I think he'll tie Kurt Kittner's 27 touchdown passes in a single season record. He had 22 last year. I say that, and I also have Caden Fagan with 10 rushing touchdowns. So I'm kind of building really.
You've got to average 30 a game, right?
Screw it. I'll take it.
You know when you will hit this? When Illinois plays a second college football playoff game. That's when you will hit this. That's a great bet if they play 14 games, right? Like 2 a game, easy.
Yeah. I don't feel good about it, but I need that number to have fun with over the course of a year, so I'm going to put it out there.
Yeah. And that's an easy number rather than me, like 900 scrimmage yards. No one's thinking.
I hope you have a little notebook each game, just kind of writing them all down. Like, I think there are very few of us who still write pen and paper during the course of games. I don't even want you to keep the play-by-play of the game. I just want you to keep scrimmage yards for those 2.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go to the receivers. I'm going to go 3 Illini players top 600 yards receiving. Colin Dixon, Hank Beatty. Yeah, Colin Dixon, Hank Beatty, Hudson Clement.
Okay.
I feel a lot better
Who
about
leads that group.
You son of a I have no freaking clue. I would have said Dixon a couple weeks ago. Now I feel like Clement's in that realm. Beatty, I still just wanted the snaps, Joey. Like, is there enough snaps? If you told me he played Isaiah Williams snaps, I go, yeah, definitely Hank Beatty. I just don't think that's going to be the case. I'll stick with my guy, Colin Dixon, but I'm starting to think Hudson Clement can be back in that realm. Like, there was reason for us to be a little cautious about Hudson Clement coming into this camp, right? The way we talk to people in the program, the way, the spring did not go incredibly well for Hudson with that injury, but now it feels like, okay, back on track. This guy can be what we need him to be and what we thought he'd be when we got him from West Virginia. So I feel better about that one now, but 3 players over 600 yards, there's not many teams doing that.
Yeah, I like that. I'll build on that and say Hudson Clement leads the team in receiving yards and Colin Dixon leads the team in receptions.
I like it.
I don't. That's really not bold. I think those two could also flip, but I'll stick with my original idea. But yeah, to your point, like I know I read a little bit of kind of the feedback from one of the pods. It's like, oh, they're sleeping on Hudson Clement. I think there's reason. You didn't. Yeah, I mean, I never got the sense until later in fall camp that they were all pedal to the metal on what he'd done to that point. I mean, there was some really cautious, just conversations. At least in the way I interpreted those conversations, because spring was slow and just you're learning a lot, right? It's a whole new system. It's a whole new place to be. But the kid is really talented. The guy is really talented. And that's going to play and win.
I think this. When we got on here and they got him, I was like, this is their number one guy. Like this, you watch the film and it's definitely there. I think Zachary Franklin almost makes you think like it's easy. It's easy for a wide receiver to come in. Well, Zachary played in Barry Lundy's scheme. Hudson's learning a new scheme. All of these new people that you got to get used to. And he had the injury. So it wasn't as clean coming into the season. The first thing Justin Stepp tells us during training camp is he's got to get in better conditioning. So it's like all those things are like, okay, let's pause before we, hit the pedal to the metal on the Hudson Clement hype. So let's just back off that for a bit. But now when Barry Lundy and Brett Bielema all mentioned Hudson Clement has really emerged, that's worth noticing. And that's what it should be. He is a gamer. He has proven himself at the Power 4 level. He's one of your biggest investments in the offseason, along with James Thompson. Like, he should be this kind of player, but it's been a little bit more of a roller coaster leading into the season.
Yeah. And I just, for clarity, like, no one ever told us like, oh, he's not good. You just didn't hear the holy crap, this guy. Like, you heard that with James Thompson. You heard that with really Zachary, right? For the points that you mentioned. And then in the last week or so, 10 days, it's really been a lot of, man, he's playing really good football right now. So back on that, feels like that train is on the tracks now and ready for a few more passengers. I'm going to go defense, Jeremy.
Okay. Oh, we're starting with Joe Barna.
He is going to lead Illinois in sacks in the non-Gabe Akis category. So he will be second in sacks for Illinois. That last season was not a huge number. It was 3.5, and it was Dennis Briggs. I think we might be sleeping on how much Joe Barna is going to play, because I think a lot of the way we frame and think about Joe Barna is the backup to Gabe Akis.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy who can share the field with Gabe Akis, however that looks. And I think once you get that going in games and it takes some shape, I think there could really be some speed behind that. He is a really good football. He's not just like the big, strong freshman who came in and, oh my God, he's strong. And he's a good football player.
Yeah.
He's in his second year in the system. He got meaningful reps last year. I will go as far as to put him as 5 sacks this year.
Nice. Like it. All right. I thought about this being on the cutting room floor. But this might be one of my boldest, to be honest with you, Joey.
Yes.
The team's second leading sacker is not a defensive lineman nor an edge. That means it's a lineman.
Dylan Rosiak? Or Keneno Odeluga?
Keneno Odeluga, my guy JoJo Hayden. Do we include Daniel Brown in that?
No, you cannot cheat. He is an edge. No. I did flirt with him, the second sack guy, too.
He's kind of both.
You don't get that one. There's no way.
Okay. I just have it
I'll tell you what, if on Friday, if Daniel Brown is against all odds for anything that we think is going to happen, if he's warming up with Archie McDaniel, we will retroactively give this to you. That won't happen. You don't get to claim that.
No, he's not going to be practicing with Archie McDaniel. But what if he lines up off the ball a lot, like in a 3-3 stack?
Here, I think if you've got to reach this far, I'm going to say no. You don't get him. He's listed as an outside linebacker. You will not get to claim him for that.
I will claim him. Okay, the other one, I don't know how bold this is, but since we're talking sacks, it is really hard to duplicate what Gabe Backus did last year. It is not a given, right? Like Johnny Newton has 8 sacks. Would have been his redshirt sophomore year, and you're thinking, he'll get 10 in his next year. It's not that easy. It's even as dominant, and he's probably better the next season. Just the numbers didn't go his way. But I will say, Gabe Backus will be the second Illini to get double-digit sacks this century. Whitney Merciless is the other one. Wally Batiku and Carroll Phillips each got 9. I just think he's an NFL player playing in college football this year, Joey. And he's going to get a lot of attention, but I think he's going to win a lot of battles. And I think they're going to still find ways to get him on one-on-one battles with some of those stunts and everything they do. So I just think he's a man on a mission right now. He learned so much from Johnny Newton, watching him go through the process, what he's achieved, that Gabe, I don't think he comes back unless he's thinking first round, early second round, right? Because he could have been a mid-round pick. He could be on an NFL team right now. He's making good money here, but I think he wants to make a much bigger first contract and help his team win. He's turned into a leader of this team. So I think he's a man on a mission. I think he gets there.
I had a Gabe Backus prediction where, and this compared to that is really not bold at all. He is going to finish second all-time in career sacks to Illinois. I think he needs 7 to get there. I feel very comfortable in that prediction.
That might be the most unbreakable record for Illinois.
Yes. I thought about that today.
44.5. That's insane. Like that's just an insane number.
If you are in contention after your third year these days, you are not in a fourth year. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no, unless it's like the most absurd fourth year ever where you blasted your way into contention for that, you're gone. You're out of college football before you get a chance for that.
Like Robert Holcomb's 4,000 yards is going to be very difficult. Again, the running back thing. Like if you have 3,000 yards like Chase Brown, you're not coming back, right? But like, man, 44, and I think that's the Big Ten record too. So it's just insane what Simeon Rice did in his career to have 44.5. Because what's number 2 would be 24, right? He's got 16. He's got 16. So I think it'd be 23.5 or 23 would be number 2 on the list. So half of what Simeon Rice had. Insane.
Most sacks in a career, 44. Oh, poop. We knew that. Anyway, it'll ultimately
it's 23, I think, because Gabe has
23. Scott Davis has 23. Fred Wakefield is third at 21.
Yeah, Fred.
Yeah, I do think I like the double digit. That's fun.
It's hard to do. It's very hard to do.
It is.
I'm going to tell people that.
I think you need to follow the Wally Batiku non-conference plan because if you go back to Wally's, he terrorized non-conference opponents this year.
You need a 3 or 4 sack game in there somewhere. Yeah, for sure.
How many do you need him to have after week 3 before you feel really comfortable? So Duke's mixed in there too, but what do you really feel good about there?
If he had 4, I think he can get 6 in Big Ten play. Right? Okay. I think he'll find his way to that. But if he had 5, he's getting it. He's getting it as long as he stays healthy.
If he has 3 against Western Illinois, I expect you to be cartwheeling in the press boxes. You know you are on a great path.
Yeah.
For that.
That's probably one of my more lukewarm takes, to be honest with you. Because I feel like people are expecting that. I just want to say it's very hard. That's why I feel like it is a bold take because double-digit sacks doesn't happen very often in this program.
It doesn't. And I also think we need to address that, like, that can get a lot easier or a lot more difficult depending on how the other outside linebacker spot, the rest of those defensive linemen play. Because if you can send 2 to bother Gabe Backus most times, that gets a lot more difficult. But if the rest of your defensive line, if that other outside linebacker spot plays well enough I think you're right. They're going to scheme him into some one-on-one opportunity, but life gets a lot easier if you're James Thompson's, your Kurt Neal's, your either Tommy Waderjai or Pat Farrell or whoever's Alec Bryan on the other end is really not allowing you to kind of shift your coverage towards Gabe.
It also reminds me of just the ridiculous season Whitney Merciless had in 2011, Joey. It was one of my first years covering Illinois football. 16 sacks, 9 forced fumbles for a 6-6 team. Insane. Just what he did that year was insane. And that was a guy that was like a solid rotation player that just all of a sudden emerged into a superstar. Just one of the best years I'll probably ever cover for an individual.
Can I ask, how many more bold predictions do you have? Because I have one.
I think I have 2.
Oh, great. Okay, so we're not too far off. Matthew Bailey is going to lead the team in takeaways and tackles.
And that would lead to mine, Joey, about Matthew Bailey. All Big Ten first team.
It's the next bold prediction. No 2026 for Matthew Bailey, because if he does those things,
yes,
there's going to have to be a plate of money that brings him back.
Basically, we just pushed the chips into the middle on Matthew Bailey. We are all in. Should have been a sign guy, but I felt like I couldn't take Melvin Priestley, Colin Dixon, and Matthew Bailey. But what I saw late last year, that guy was awesome. Besides Gabe Hackus, I thought he was your second best defender the second part of the year. I think he's in for a huge year.
Yeah, I do too. And I asked him, I've got a story that's coming out today, tomorrow at some point on Inquirer. Said, how much confidence you carry in. I don't know, before I get, like, every time we talk to Matt Bailey, it's like you learn just a little bit more about how the guy ticks, and you really feel like you understand him as a football player. He's really good about letting us in that way. I said, how much do you take from the way that you close the season? Like, it was really good. I think we can all acknowledge that into the offseason, into this season. He goes, yeah, there's confidence. I also think about the things I could have done better. How do we do that better? I said, what are those? Tackles. He missed 17 tackles, according to PFF last year. And takeaways. He said, Coach Henry reminds me of this. I had my hand on a lot of footballs. I need to bring those in. And all I can think, and I told him this, I'm like, I'm really sorry to always go back to Sidney Brown with you, because there's so much more to Matthew Bailey than being similar to Sidney Brown. But I do think of the way that defense really felt like it hit its peak when Sidney Brown was taking the ball away at a high level, particularly at the back end of 2022. That's like, we think of the free safety spot, the Miles Scott, Kirby Josephs, Kendall Smith's, that spot as the takeaway machine. And it is. This defense is awfully stinking good when that boundary safety spot is forcing fumbles, it's taking the ball out of the air. And I think Matthew Bailey can do that.
They are very different players, but I think we bring it up for reasons, because, like, when you build a program, Joey, you have this guy did it, and then this guy did in the same role, and this guy did in the same role. They might do it differently. Sidney's a way more explosive athlete, right? But he's smaller. Matt is a bigger player. Like, the next level, is he a linebacker? That's a possibility. Or he's just a Cam Chancellor type safety. But his end of last year reminds me of the end of 2021 for Sid, where he seemed to finally start trusting himself. And when PJ Fleck said, whoever that Troy Polamalu guy is, right, you just knew, okay, this guy is blossoming, and then turns into an All-American the next year. I don't know if he's first team All Big Ten, he's in the discussion for All-American. I don't know if Matt goes to that, but I just think his impact at that position, which is all over the field, covering tight ends, in the run game, basically being an extra linebacker. You're huge in coverage. There's so many plays that go to you because you're kind of in the middle of the field. I love having Matthew Bailey in that role.
Yeah, and he's really smart. It's the only defense he's ever known. I'm with you. The chips are all in on that guy, and I am curious if he can unlock a little bit more pre-snap stuff just to really toy like that. Could open up the chance for some of those takeaways or just those opportunities. But
what we forget with him, last year was his first year as a starter, right?
And it showed, right? Like it really was like a peak up.
Yeah, Max Clare abused him in that Purdue game. Like, and he had to learn from that. Like, there were some down moments early in the season. There's also some good moments. But then he just learned from it, man. And Jay said on the podcast the other day, like, his run pass recognition improved greatly. And he's just all over the field. And now that next point, as you said, is those times you get the hand on the ball, like, you got to bring it in. you got to bring it in and change the game, not just end a drive, but maybe end a game. And that's what Matthew Bailey's next step is. But I'm really excited about him. Do you have any more? I have one possible more.
I don't think that I do. I do feel like we left a little meat on the bone offensively because we leaned pretty heavily into the rushing attack.
Got one.
Do it.
The leader in tight end receiving yards is Davin Stoffel. That's pretty bold.
It's really bold. I like it. I can see it. It makes sense to me. He's a big dude. He moves pretty well. Like he can catch the heck out of the football.
Yeah.
My hold up with that is I think once Cole Rusk gets some games under his belt and gets out there, I think that has the potential to be a pretty quick takeoff.
Yeah.
And that I think like he could put up a couple games where he does a lot of his heavy lifting in a few games.
Yeah.
To pass Davin Stoffel on that.
I think the way I have this in my head, the tight ends in the passing game will be better. I just think it's going to be like 3 guys with 10 to 20 receptions. And I don't know if Cole Rusk is that star like right away this year, because you do hear Stoffel a lot. And he's a big dude. I think he can block a little bit. Christian Abney's going to play. I think he's more of a blocker right now. And Tanner Arkin's going to play so much that he's going to get receptions. I just don't know how many yards he's going to go for. So it might be a 14 catch season for Davin Stoffel for like 170 yards that leads the team. But I think it's going to be a mix of all those guys. I don't know if one guy is going to emerge as like the go-to tight end, and that might not be a bad thing.
Might not be a bad thing. I think I agree with a lot of your take. If Cole Rusk gets going, I think he could be comfortably ahead of the rest of them.
But like, it's people can probably tell like we're tapping the brake a little bit on the Malik Elzy hype. And I do think we should tap the brake a little bit on the Cole Rusk. Yeah, like definitely going to happen this year. Definitely going to be a 300-yard catch guy. Like I think he's got to prove it, but the potential is certainly there. And if there's one guy I feel like they could be hiding from us, it's Cole Rusk. Like I feel like they could be hiding like how excited they are, but they talk a lot about Stoffel and Abney along with Tanner Arkin, obviously.
Yeah, I do. I agree with all that to maybe slow the brakes. And we've talked about the reasons why, coming off of a knee injury, adjusting to the Big Ten. I probably would lean towards it being Stoffel by the end of the year. I just can't shake the idea of that guy putting 2 or so big games. It might not be the consistency over the season, but I think he could have 2 or 3 games where he really makes up some ground. And that maybe they come later in the season, but and it helps that the quarterback's his best friend.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Give me, because I thought about some of these, who emerges as a surprise NFL draft pick? Because you look at all these lists, and it's clearly Gabe Ack's the top guy. Xavier Scott and J.C. Davis are mentioned, and that's about it. I think there's going to be more than that drafted on this team.
Well, I think we just kind of touched on it with Matthew Bailey. But that's more like decision mode than anything in terms of what Illinois can offer and what he's looking for. It's probably Tanner Arkin.
James Thompson probably could emerge. Yeah. He's an older guy. He's got to have a really good season.
Could be one of the Joshes on the offensive line. Geske recruits.
Can I point out Barry's? I love Barry Loney's humor. It is the driest thing. And he was asked about the 2 Joshes on the offensive line. And he was like, yeah, we love the 2 Joshes. They josh around a lot. And I just thought that was fantastic. Just off your dad jokes there, man. It is so good. I had to turn my head. I had to turn my head and not snicker into my camera at that point. You still probably heard me on the Barry.
I did. When I went back and transcribe it, I did hear that it could be one of them.
Giggle happening there, yeah.
You had that moment. And I had when someone asked Aaron Henry about his defensive front, he goes, "You can't forget about Joe Barna," and office panned right over to me. It's like, buddy, we don't forget about Joe Barna here. So yeah, that we had some.
We shared our moment yesterday. It was kind of nice. Yeah,
we did. Yeah, one of those two could. Dude, Josh Geske, he's big, and I think the way they talk about him, Barry Lunny said this is the best ball he's played in his time at Illinois. I think you have the size, you play in a Bielema program, you play in the Big Ten. I think those are good things to go in your favor to find your way into a draft spot. Arkin, James Thompson, one of the Joshes.
You know me with hold on.
Yeah, I like it.
Melvin Priestley.
Creed Bratton. Yeah, I like it. I do.
I think a lot of guys who could be day 3 picks. And the last one I'd throw out there is, what if Hank Beatty has a huge year? I mean, what if he has 700 receiving yards and all Big Ten punt returner again? Like that's a guy who gets into a camp at least.
Would you think that has to happen both in tandem?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's got to show. He's got to be the 5th guy in a wide receiver depth chart, right? 5th or 6th guy that you carry because he can return, and then he's also a slot guy. That's how he's got.
Yeah. Hard part with him and what you've seen, I think recently this week with Isaiah Williams, is not having the versatility and the size versatility to kick out could hurt. I mean, that's probably why Isaiah Williams was waived, right? Because you can't really very comfortably move him outside. But I like that. If you are a very high level returner and you can get open, you put up numbers, someone is going to be intrigued by that. Is that a draft pick? I don't know. I think it's a camp invite. Yeah. I think you find your way there. No doubt. That would be, I think you'd need to do both of those at a really, really good level.
All right. We didn't make any like bold predictions schedule wise or wins wise. I put out my prediction. I think it's a really good team. I think the floor is really high for them. I think the ceiling can be, if everything breaks right, Joey. I don't think they're Penn State. I don't think they're Ohio State. I don't think they're Oregon talent-wise. But if they get the close game, if you want to call it luck, breaks, all of that, this team is capable of that. But even if those things don't happen, I think this team's a bowl team. I think it's a winning team. And I think they win more games in the Big Ten than they lose. So this isn't bold predictions, but I do feel good about the foundation of this team. And what we're going to talk about is it 7 wins? Is it 10 wins? Or somewhere in between?
I wish I had done the research with something I really should have done. I didn't consider that for a bold prediction. You know, I really do get caught up in touchdowns in a big way on those. I would just off the top say that Bielema's teams during his Illinois tenure have averaged 4.5 one-score games this season.
Something like that.
That feels ballpark.
Higher than that, yeah.
Could be even higher.
And they had 8 in 2023, right? And they more often went their way, which is crazy that they went 5 and 7.
Yeah, and so they had, 6 or 7 last season?
Yeah, they were 5 and 1 in one-score games last year.
So that number is probably closer to 5.5 than 4.5. Because I think that 2021 year is going to – 21 and really 22 are going to bring that down for different reasons.
Well, 21, we're like, hey, they're in every game. And they lost a lot of them, but they were in them. And the Maryland and Purdue ones are like, man, if you just would have gotten one of those, you're a bowl team in the first year. What would that have been? Then 23, you lost some heartbreakers, but you also won some ridiculously exciting games. That's what this has all been about. I do think. Could there be fewer of those this year?
That's where I'm at. Yeah. Like if I told you that Illinois was going to play in 4 one-score games this season.
It's bold.
That what do you put their record at if you know the number is 4 one-score games? Because that feels like where the holdup is, right? That one-score luck can't happen twice. And what if there's just not as many?
I don't see this defense. I wrote about them today. I don't know if they're going to be dominant like Aaron Henry wants. But I don't see them giving up many 30-plus point games, right? Indiana could, Ohio State could, USC could. I don't think that's going to happen against Duke. I don't think that's going to happen on the back end of their schedule. Washington, I'm a little concerned about, but you also can score 30-something in a game with this offense. So, I don't think there's going to be a lot of those games the bad way. The question is how many go the good way to where you're just running the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and some of that's probably a November discussion.
Yeah.
That's the way that schedule could shape out. But if they're in 4 one-score games, then I would expect this to be a 9 or 10 win year. Yeah. That's where the holdup's in. I'll bold prediction they're only in 4 one-score games, so obviously 8 or fewer.
That's a good one. My bold prediction: we're in Nashville after a 9-win season for Illinois.
Yeehaw, buddy!
We gotta get Scott Ritchie in his cowboy hat and his cowboy boots.
I will. I don't know that I will be joining you on the Broadway tour. It is very loud and very expensive. But if you'd like to do dive bars,
a lot of woo girls
around Nashville,
Broadway.
And now, if we as an Illinois beat want to rent the bar cycle and pedal around and woo all the way through in December, let's do that. Otherwise, I will be at the dive bars around Nashville having a wonderful time.
Can I be honest with you? I don't know how doing cardio while drinking beer becomes a profit.
Oh, it sucks. No, it truly sucks. Have you ever done one?
No. Why would I want to do it?
It's awful. It's awful. And it's really not.
Beer.
There's like an engine in there. So if like you're coming up to a hill, like you're not asking 15 drunk people to pedal you up this hill in this ship in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
But it is not like if we got on like, hey, you guys like this, the pedals are just kind of for show. You really don't have to do anything. You could sell me on that. But if like, hey, you got to get us through town, I'm fine here. Thank you. Thanks for the offer.
And I feel like I need to do a lot of work if it's the Illinois beat on that. So no, thank you.
Yeah, I have no interest in like Broadway. Have you been to Nashville?
Yes.
Broadway's fine. You've done Broadway, surely. It's fine. Man,
at my speed.
I like to sit down. I've really grown fond of sitting down.
I like to sit down. I like to talk to people. I don't like the music ridiculously loud. I'm
unless it's Linkin Park.
Well, that or like, I got some Blink-182 or some Killers or something,
Sure, yeah.
You, me, and Richie sitting at the bar with our early 2000s rock. Yeah, we'll be going nuts.
Man, do you remember that time at Ashley's in Ann Arbor we did that? And then we gave Piper the Touch Tunes aux cord, and it's like, Derek, thanks, man. But appreciate you stopping through. I think they're closed. Time for you to get going.
Yeah. All right. I think we did some good bold predictions there.
Hope so.
Yeah. We'll see if any hit. Which one do you feel best about? Caden? Touchdowns?
Yeah, I think. The easy one is Gabe moving to second place. I feel the best about that. And then I would take Caden Fagan 10 rushing touchdowns as my next bet.
I feel good about the running backs. I can't wait to see him in action because those are some of the hardest positions, running back and linebacker, to actually look at in camp and judge. But I think we know what they have at running back. As long as they are on the field, man, I think it's going to be a really good year for those guys. All right. We appreciate you guys listening to the Illini Inquirer podcast. Give us a follow, rating, review wherever you get your podcast. Joey, I enjoyed talking to you, but can I say and be honest with you? You were the second best podcast guest I interviewed today. We got Lauren Tate on the podcast tomorrow.
The fact that our Lauren got the browser pulled up, and I can't wait to listen to it because it's awesome. I love listening to Lauren Tate. Like, he is just as fun of a person as to listen to. I would easily say I'm the fourth best this week. I don't know who you third. Jay Lehman and Lauren Tate are 1 and 2. You could just find a third, and I'll be happy to be fourth.
No, I enjoyed it. But yeah, Lauren was awesome. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow on the podcast. And then Friday night, late with us, we'll be live on our YouTube channel. We'll get this podcast uploaded as soon as possible as well for our first post-game podcast of the season. We'll have it all covered at IlliniInquirer.com as well. We got plenty of great deals. Go check that out. We're going to have an even better deal than we have now, Joey, for at least 24 hours leading up to kickoff. So be on the lookout for that. If you're not a VIP member, sign up now. But for Joey Wagner, I'm Jeremy Werner. Everybody have a great day. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time on the Illini Inquirer podcast.